When the first Earth Day was announced, I was all in, and I became a student leader of the Student Faculty Committee for Earth Day and subscribed to some publications but things like the Environmental Action newsletter and all those things, there was something missing for me, but it wasn't until perhaps more than a decade later that I actually had language for it and realized that my concern for Earth has always been a spiritual one. And I really, even though I wouldn't have used that language at the time, I've always kind of been a big picture person. And as with nearly everything in my life, I kept seeking this wonderful expression. So what were the fundamental reasons for the devastation of life on Earth at the hands of the human? And I really understood that it was humans that were doing things wrong. I was very anti-organized religion. I guess Quakers are a really good fit for me. but I had what I now call a mystical experience. And I always found spirit in the living world. So that was really, people say nature is my church. And I don't really use that language, but that's really where I always felt connected to all that is. And in this mystical experience, which actually happened indoors, I got just completely clearly that I was being told, it was like being given marching orders by this powerful being that I understood how humans were messing up the planet. And this being, we could call the creator. Though again, I probably wouldn't have used that language then. But this was a personal affront to this being, that humans were really messing things up. Kind of like an Old Testament prophet, and this being was railing against human misdeeds, and I was told that I understood that humans were messing up, and I understood the ways humans were messing up, and that it was my job to talk to people and teach people and engage with people and instruct them that we needed to do things differently. And of course, who is we? We know that there are people on the planet to this day who have a much healthier relationship with the living world than what Joanna Macy calls the people of the Industrial Growth Society. And so, that was when I was 19. So it's been quite a few decades. And I've been, what I say, more and less faithful to that. I've, kind of wondered, how am I supposed to do that? When I was part of Pacific Yearly Meeting, a friend of Pacific Yearly Meeting, Carl Magruder, said, "Oh, preach the gospel of the earth." And I said, "Oh, that's a nice turn of phrase." So, that leading has never changed. It's just really been kind of a touchstone or a guiding star. And over the years, I've really been grateful that increasingly I've been able to kind of live into how to do that, which kind of reminds me of Rilke's thing about don't seek to get the answers, but live the questions. And it feels like I'm finally getting some of the answers. And it's been extraordinary to be able to share some of this with, others, especially in the Quaker universe. But, concern for Earth encompasses certainly concern for humans, which Friends have been onto for our whole history. And it also encompasses care for the more than human world. And in caring for other humans, we are caring for the more than human world. If we're, caring for people in low-lying islands in the Pacific Ocean, because they're already dealing with the worst effects of climate chaos, then we're caring for all the other beings that live in those areas. All of those catastrophes including the most directly, the one that's easiest to correlate with human behavior, which is war. So the flooding and fires and are all related to human activity, anthropogenic climate chaos. Obviously, they impact the rest of the living world. And so it is all of a piece. And as we take care of the least of these, you know, we are living in harmony and taking care of what the early church called one of God's holy books, the book of the living world. But I don't think it's incongruous for friends to understand the inspiritedness of the living world. There's a quotation that I heard from William Penn decades ago about seeing the face of the Creator in the creation, and how could a person abuse it, abuse any part of the living world, knowing that the face of the Creator stares back at them in each and every part thereof, as some paraphrase. But, and then John Woolman, of course, talked about damaging creation being an insult to the world to come, and, you know, and not in the eternal sense, but in the generations to come. You know, in terms of how this story can move us into a more hopeful future in harmony with spirit and the rest of creation. You know, how do we remember? How do we remember that we were Indigenous once, that we really understood ourselves to be a part of the strand, a strand in the web of life, that we recognized our kinship with life on Earth, you know, plants, animals, fungi, rivers, wind, mountains, and really knew that their lives and existence make ours possible. That hasn't changed, you know. I remember after spending a week with Brian Swim in the late 80s, I walked into like a supermarket and I had this mystical experience, and I realized that every single thing in that supermarket, from the food to the packaging to the shelves to the lights to they were all gifts of the earth. Robin Wall Kimmerer talks about the endless gifts of the living world freely given: food, medicine, oxygen, water, shelter, and how a reflexive response to a gift is both gratitude and reciprocity. Paulette Meyer's beautiful chant, put to the words of George Fox, was going through my heart mind. And the words are, mind that which is eternal, which gathers your hearts together and lets you see that ye are written in one another's hearts. And, you know, mind that which is eternal, right? What should we be paying attention to? What should I be paying attention to? And if I'm paying attention to that which is eternal, then I might see that I'm written in the heart of all of God's creation. And the hearts of all of God's creation and the living world are written in me.